I wanted to do a quick video about Alzheimer's. My mother had Alzheimer's for about 8 years and sadly passed away in January. And I know when she first sort of got Alzheimer's, I looked on YouTube for sort of advice and things like that, and I couldn't really find anything. So I thought I'd do a quick video which people might find helpful if they suspect that their parents have got Alzheimer's and they're looking to put them into a care home. So the first thing is spotting Alzheimer's. Now I didn't really spot it myself. One of an ex-girlfriend of mine was picking my mum up to bring her to mine for Sunday lunch, and we were all having Sunday lunch together. And then the ex-girlfriend took my mum back to hers, sort of thing. And when she got home, the ex-girlfriend sort of rang me up and said, "Oh, you know, I think there's something wrong with your mum. She was fantasising about her parents being alive and her husband being alive and this kind of thing." So I thought, all right, I'll investigate further. And I came to my mum's house and sort of looked in the fridge and looked in the freezer, and I found sort of green food that was going off, you know, stuff that was going green and mouldy in the fridge. I looked in the freezer and there's stuff that had gone green and mouldy, and then she'd put it in the freezer to freeze it, sort of thing. Her general hygiene wasn't very good, you know, like her bed was sort of quite dirty and her clothes were quite dirty. And you know, I think if somebody's got Alzheimer's, they're very good at hiding it from their sort of nearest and dearest. But anyway, after that, I thought, all right, well, I'll make a doctor's appointment, and I took her to go and see a GP, and they do quite a simple test where they ask you, you know, what day it is, what season is it, and this kind of thing. And one of the tests they do, which I'll just show you, is they make you draw a clock face and then put the numbers on a clock face. Now, somebody that's got Alzheimer's tends to group all the numbers up in one corner. They can't sort of space them out, you know, sort of round a normal clock face. They sort of space them all in one corner. So that's a good sort of an idea. You know, you could do yourself, say to your mum or whatever, or your dad, you know, draw me a clock face and put the numbers in. That would be a good indication, you know, ask them what day it is, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think sort of once the doctors have sort of said, yeah, they think it is Alzheimer's. The next thing they can do is they can put you on tablets. And I know my mum was on Aracet, and they reckon that the earlier that you can get somebody onto tablets, the more of them you save. So I'd say my mum, you know, about 8 years she had Alzheimer's, and she wasn't too bad, even towards the end of her life she wasn't too bad. So, you know, I'd recommend anybody to go and see the doctor, and I think the earlier you can get them on tablets, the better. Now, something else that's good to do is to contact the Alzheimer's Society, and they'll come around and see you, and then they'll sort of say to you what benefits you can claim and stuff like that. And not a lot of people know that if you've got Alzheimer's, you don't have to pay any council tax. So that's something, you know, you can sort of get your doctor to do a letter, send it off, and if your mum's or your dad's got Alzheimer's, you know, and they're living on their own, you can go, right, you can get out paying their council tax, which really is going to help you if there's a lot of other costs involved. I know we had private carers in, which used to come in the morning, and they used to get my mum up, give her a bath, give her a breakfast, and they used to do an hour a day, every day in the morning, and that was about 650 quid a month. So we used to pay that. And then I used to do the sort of 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock shift, give her a tea or whatever, and then NHS carers. They're not employed by the NHS. They're a private company through the NHS. They used to come in and they used to do 15 minutes at night. But to be honest, they didn't always show up, and it was really a rubbish service. There's always a time when you've got sort of the NHS carers coming in. There's always a time limit where they've only got 15-20 minutes, and really they can't do anything in 15-20 minutes. So sort of bear that in mind. And other stuff you can do as well. Like the Alzheimer's Society will do a care plan. And then they do like a thing. They give you like a credit card. So if anything happens to you, that's in your wallet. And then if you were in hospital or whatever, the doctors would see that and then know that there's somebody they're reliant on you to get home at 5 o'clock to look after them. So that there's a plan then in order that an agency can come in and take over if you're in hospital or whatever. Right, and then so once you've done all that, I think the next step would be going into a care home. And as I say, my mum was probably in her own house for about 4 or 5 years, something like that, 4 or 5 years. And then it got to the point where she used to have a key, and she used to let herself in and out. And I was at work one morning, and the carers had come in the morning, and then she'd gone missing. So I got a phone call at like 9:30 saying your mum's not there. We spoke to the neighbours. She's walked up the road at 9 o'clock, never to be seen again. And we live in Bourne, and she walked to this village Toft, which is about 4 miles away. So she walked 4 miles down a main road on a grass verge. She then fell in a ditch, and a motorist picked her up and took her to the police station. I just got the phone call at work saying she'd gone missing. I thought, right, I'll go to the police station to report it, and she's in the police station. And then about 2 weeks later, I had the same thing where I was going out on a Saturday night. I was about to leave the house. A police car pulls up outside my house. My mum's in the back, and she'd done the same trick, and she left the house at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and she'd walked to Thirlby, which is again 2-3 miles. A motorist had reported her on the grass verge. The police had seen her, picked her up and brought to my house. So after that happened, I kind of thought to myself, right, I'm going to have her locked in. So I then took the key off her and had her locked in the house. Now I was being told by social services that I couldn't do that because there's a fire risk, but I kind of thought to myself, what can you do? That's the only thing you can do. So she was probably sort of locked in for around, I don't know, sort of like a year, maybe something like that, where people used to come in. I used to take her out, but she'd be locked in the house. But literally I'd sort of turn up on a Friday or whatever, or at 5 o'clock, and she'd have the window open and she'd be trying to climb out the window, things like that. So I got to the point where I thought, it's no good, she's going to have to go into a care home. So I started looking at care homes, and I think when you get to that position, what I would recommend you do is look at about 10. Don't think to yourself, I'll just look at the care homes in the immediate vicinity, because I think that knowing how expensive the care homes are, it's probably worth thinking, I don't mind travelling an hour or something like that if you can get a care home that you can afford. Now the care home fees from where I am locally were anywhere from 300 quid to £1,000 a week. That's what the care home fees were. And I looked at one that was 300 quid, and it was pretty grim. That was in Stamford, and it's because it's 300 quid, it's what they call a shared room. So you're sharing a room with a stranger, and there was no ensuite or anything. It was pretty grim. And then like if you're paying £1,000, it's a bit like a 5-star hotel. But I was conscious of the fact that we couldn't afford £1,000 a week, so I ended up in the end, and I got a care home for 550 quid, which I didn't think was too bad. And I think when you're looking around these care homes, always sort of go in and think to yourself, right, can you smell a strong smell of urine? If you can do that, forget about that. You don't want that. Look at the amount of residents as well, because the smaller the care home, the probably better it is. You know, I looked at care homes which had 100 residents, and I only ever saw two staff members. Where the care home that I put her into in the end, you know, there was I think there was 27 residents, and they always had about 4 staff members on shift. So you know, it wasn't too bad. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I'm going to do another video. I'm going to talk about other stuff, you know, what you need to do, and the power of attorney. But for now, that's all I'm doing. So thanks for watching. Okay, bye.